Every now and then, I hit this wall where I'm just overflowing with ideas but cannot seem to take action on them. I feel pulled in a million directions with all of my creative passions, and the more I think about it, the more stuck I feel. Does this sound familiar? Can you relate to this? Whenever that happens to me, I don't try to force it. Instead, I turn to books. So, in today's video, I am sharing with you three books that I keep coming back to. Books that have genuinely shifted my mindset and the way that I think about creativity and design, and even how I live my life on a daily basis. Hi, I'm Kristen, a full time UX designer and multidisciplinary creative with a passion for all things creativity and design. From art and florals to branding, ceramics, and more, I am constantly finding ways to bring creativity in my life. In a world where we are all chronically online, my intention for this year and moving forward is to create more than I consume. And while that is easier said than done, one of the tools that I really love to use to inspire me and to get out of my phone is to read books. It's so tempting to just scroll endlessly for the sake of finding inspiration, but really that just fuels the distraction and you end up going down rabbit holes that you never intended to. And I have found for myself, I'm not sure if anyone else feels this way, but when I try to look for inspiration online, it turns into me comparing myself and all of these negative feelings. And that's not always the case, but depending on what my mindset is going into seeking inspiration from online or social media, it can have a negative effect on it. But books, especially the ones that I'm sharing with you today, remind me to slow down, reconnect with myself, and spark ideas in a more intentional way. There are two types of books that I like to turn to when I'm feeling creatively stuck. The first kind are visual inspiration books, and these are like coffee table books. They have lots of pictures. You can quickly just browse through them and build up an archive of references. And the second kind are creative philosophy books that completely change the way that you think. As you go through life and build on experiences, you start to really recognize how important it is to have the right mindset in everything that you do, especially creatively. With all of that in mind, if you are looking for a mindset reset, then these are the books that I will recommend. If you're ready to commit to 12 weeks of rediscovering your creativity, unlocking how your past and your experiences have affected your creative voice, and just finding more ways to be intentional about what you create, then The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is the book for you. I really enjoyed this book, and although I read it once, I do plan on reading it again and going through the 12 weeks again. It is a 12-week challenge that connects spirituality to creativity and walks you through challenges and exercises and tasks to really think deeper about who you are as a creative. I read this book in a book club with a small group of friends, and we even created a group chat to hold each other accountable. It was a great way to share inspiration back and forth, bounce ideas off of each other, and even discuss some parts of the book that we were kind of struggling to deal with or understand or think deeper about. So I do recommend, if possible, to do it with other people who are willing to take on the challenge with you because it just makes it more fun that way. At the end of the 12 weeks, we got together to have our group artist date where we had a brunch. We also did some crafts and we discussed how the book changed our lives. A favorite quote of mine from the book and a bit of a reality check for me as a recovering perfectionist is perfectionism is a refusal to let yourself move ahead. It's a loop, an obsessive, debilitating closed system that causes you to get stuck in the details of what you are creating and to lose sight of the whole. One thing I really want to emphasize is this book takes commitment and an intention to do the 12-week challenge, to get the most out of the book at least. I went into it kind of having an idea of what it would be like, but not really knowing what to expect, which is why I'm going to do it again. Because, for instance, you have to do some of the challenges throughout the week, but because I would miss some weeks, I would have to catch up and I would try to cram it all in one day. And I don't feel like in some weeks I was getting the most out of the exercises. So I will definitely put that as a warning or a disclaimer. You need to be committed to doing this for 12 weeks. And even though I didn't complete it perfectly, I still would say that this book really, really left a lasting impression on me and my life and how I move as an artist and a creative in this world. Two practices in particular that I took from this book that I still continue and will continue moving forward are morning pages and artist dates. Morning pages is the practice of writing 3 pages by hand every single day. It's meant to be done in the morning, hence the name, and it's just supposed to be a brain dump, free writing, no prompt, no guidelines, nothing. Just get everything onto paper. I will say that in the beginning, it was a little bit difficult for me to get used to this, only because I would find myself writing maybe a page or two and then I feel like I have nothing else to say. However, in the book, she does recommend no matter what, just keep writing and to fill up those 3 pages. Eventually, I did get to a point where now I'm writing like 4 or 5 pages sometimes. And it also depends on what's going on in my life. I might have more to say in my notes. So I think that this has really helped me think through things. If I'm overthinking something that's happening, I really love doing these morning pages. And I will be honest, there were times in the morning where I was unable to do it because of work or I just woke up late. I think you have to make this work for you. So don't be too strict about it as long as you get it done. Sometimes my morning pages turned into afternoon pages or evening pages, but no matter what, I made it work for me and I still got the most out of the book. Next are artist dates. These are solo intentional blocks of time that you set aside to find inspiration and spark joy through an activity. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, it doesn't have to take a long time if you don't want it to, but it's just meant for you to have no distractions. And it could be going for a walk, going to a botanical garden, going to a museum, or anything like that. Something that is going to spark joy and make your inner artist happy. Another quote from the book that I really love is doing your morning pages, you are sending, notifying yourself and the universe of your dreams, dissatisfactions, hopes. Doing your artist date, you are receiving, opening yourself to insight, inspiration, and guidance. This book helped me not only understand my creative blocks, but also why I approach creativity the way that I do. It is definitely one that I will continue to return to whenever I feel disconnected or need a reset. If the structure of a 12-week challenge feels a little bit overwhelming right now, you're not ready to make that commitment, then The Creative Act by Rick Rubin might be a good option for you. Unlike The Artist's Way, this book does not have any prompts, there are no exercises, no challenges, just reflections of Rick Rubin's life that help you to think of your life in a more creative way. This book was a game changer for me. I took so many notes throughout reading this book, and it's one of those that you find yourself highlighting several lines on each page. What I love most is how it expands the idea of what it's meant to be a creative. Rick Rubin is not just speaking to people who create for a living, he is speaking to the creative in everyone. He frames creativity not as a skill, but a way of being. It's a practice, it is a mindset. Here are some of the ideas that really stuck out to me, and I have them in my notes here because they are just too good to mess up. The first one is you're never the same person twice. Every experience shapes you, and that means your work is always evolving too. If you're feeling stuck, don't overthink it, just start small. One small step can grow into something bigger. Be open to the unexpected. Sometimes our mistakes or detours lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Inspiration won't always come to you. You have to show up first. Discipline creates space for ideas to thrive. If an idea comes to your brain, use it before you lose it and see that someone else gets it. Signs are everywhere. You just have to pay attention. When you hit a creative block, try breaking your idea into smaller, manageable parts, changing your environment to shift your perspective, or making something for someone else in mind. It takes the pressure off and invites purpose back in. Touching on the perfectionism topic that I mentioned in the first book, he also mentions this here, and he says, releasing a work into the world becomes easier when we remember that each piece can never be a total reflection of us, only a reflection of who we are in the moment. It is a reminder that perfection is not the goal, presence is. So embrace the process and embrace the journey that you're on. If fear of the unknown or fear in general is what is stopping you from sharing, from starting, from chasing your dreams, then feel the fear and do it anyways by Suzanne Jeffers is the book for you. It is a mindset shifting read that reminds us that fear is a part of the process and it's not ever going to go away. But it's the way that we respond that can completely change our creative journey. The biggest reality check for me after reading this book was that it's never really as scary as we make it seem. I remember when I was living in Korea and I used to get so scared and anxious to use the Korean that I had been studying for months. I would be questioning everything. What if I do something wrong? What if I say something wrong? What if I offend somebody? Or what if I get embarrassed by it all? But when I actually went out and forced myself to face the fear, it never ended up being that bad. Even if I did mess up, the people that I was speaking to and the people that I met, they were just appreciative that I was willing to learn their language to communicate with them. And then I realized it was never actually a failure. No matter how many mistakes I made, it was just another step in the learning process. And the same thing applies to creativity. Most of the time, we're not actually scared of what we're doing. We're afraid of how it'll be perceived. One of the most powerful takeaways that I got from this book was the list of truths about fear. Fear will never go away as long as I continue to grow. The only way to get over fear of doing something is to do it. The only way to feel better about myself is to do it. I'm not alone. Everyone feels fear in unfamiliar territory. Pushing through fear is less frightening than living with regret of not trying. That last one really hit home. I am constantly going back to those 5 truths about fear, and I have them written down because it's true. Everything I ever wanted was on the other side of what I was avoiding doing. Another example that came to mind was an artist grant that I received a couple of years ago. And I was really working myself up about this. I was sure that I was unqualified. I wasn't prepared to do it, anything. But one of my good friends actually talked me into doing it. She said, girl, like, who cares? Just do it. Even if you get it, if you don't, just do it for the experience. And I applied last minute, almost missed the deadline, and I received it. So that just shows that you just have to step outside of your comfort zone. Yes, you're going to be scared, but feel scared and do it anyways, is basically what this book is saying. I love that each of these books have helped me throughout different stages of my life or my creative journey. And no matter where I was at the time I was reading it, it always felt like it was just the right time. It was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. No matter where you are in your creative journey, whether you're just starting out or looking for an extra push to keep going, these books will help you. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you have books that you recommend. I would love to add it to my list. I really hope that this helped you, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this, then I will be sharing more tools and tips and inspiration that keep me grounded and creative. So subscribe to follow along on my creative journey.